There are far too many enormous projects in China that appear spectacular, impressive, hastily built, and then promptly put to use as soon as word spreads of China's achievements. When those mega constructions begin to break apart or fall short of their original height, everyone tends to lose interest. China's ghost cities. With more than 687 cities, the real estate sector accounts for an astounding 29% of China's GDP. Nonetheless, the $300 billion Evergrande debt issue has also recently brought the Chinese real estate industry under intense media scrutiny. However, the Chinese housing industry is facing more than just this big problem. A recent analysis estimates that 20% of China's total housing stock, or over 65 million urban dwelling properties, are empty. This 20% consists of large areas of hundreds of square kilometers of various towns, like Tiandaqing, Tamestown, Binhai, and many more, where the number of empty buildings is significantly higher than the number of occupied ones. These ghost cities in China include skyscrapers, well-connected roads, infrastructure, and a range of public places, but they are incredibly underpopulated and contain large regions that are entirely empty of people. In the past, real estate was regarded as a secure and lucrative investment option in China. Due to the real estate market's decades-long trend of price increases, which have increased the nation's wealth and household income, even the Chinese government has actively promoted property investment. The country's constitution is the reason for this real estate-driven economy, which brings in billions of dollars for the communist government via land sales and property market profits. Since all land in China is held by the state by virtue of the country's constitution, developers seeking to build on land must lease it from the government, sometimes through participation in regional land auctions. The fact that significantly fewer Chinese nationals invest in the stock market than do those in the United States and Europe is another factor contributing to the past unchecked expansion of the Chinese real estate market. About 52% of Americans are stock owners, and roughly 65% are property owners. In China, the percentage of people who own equities is only about 7%, but 90% of people are homeowners. This comprises 70% of millennials, many of whom intend to purchase more investment properties. A significant portion of China's total family wealth consists of real estate assets, which can be attributed to speculation in investment properties. Real estate makes up about 70% of family assets. The fact that China used more concrete in just 3 years between 2010 and 2013 than the United States did over the whole 20th century illustrates the level of real estate development that took place in the nation. For an extended period, the Chinese real estate bubble resulted in escalating property values, prompting developers to rush the construction of additional apartments. However, the market for apartments has now contracted as a result of several factors, such as a slowdown in population growth, aging populations, and rising property prices. While the United States and Europe build about 3 million new homes annually, China builds more than 10 million new dwellings every year. The majority of Chinese citizens don't require a new place to live because they already own property, yet many of them nevertheless purchase freshly constructed real estate as investments. Experts claim that sometimes these sold-out homes, buildings, neighborhoods, and even entire towns sit empty for years as a result of China's excessive urbanization, which is also thought to be contributing to the supply-demand imbalance that led to the Evergrande catastrophe. According to research, China may currently have up to 50 ghost cities. China's Belt and Road. Often called the New Silk Road, China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is one of the most massive infrastructure initiatives ever imagined. President Xi Jinping introduced this enormous set of investment and development programs in 2013. Their original goal was to build physical infrastructure that would connect East Asia and Europe. Since then, the project has spread to South America, Africa, and Oceania, greatly increasing China's political and economic clout. As the costs of several of the projects have ballooned, criticism has grown in other nations, with some analysts viewing the idea as a worrying extension of China's expanding influence. In the meantime, the US is worried, as are other Asians, that the BRI would serve as a front for regional growth and military buildup spearheaded by China. While President Joe Biden has continued to view Beijing's moves with skepticism, the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE 220 CE, in China established trade networks throughout what are now the Central Asian nations of Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, as well as contemporary India and Pakistan to the south during its westward expansion. This led to the creation of the original Silk Road. More than 4,000 kilometers separate such routes from Europe. The money from the Belt and Road Initiative is viewed as potentially poisonous by some nations, which take on significant debt in order to finance infrastructure investments. China sees BRI projects as business ventures, expecting full repayment of financing with interest rates comparable to market rates. Certain BRI investments have necessitated the involvement of Chinese companies and entailed opaque bidding procedures. Contractors have therefore raised prices, which has resulted in project cancellations and political fallout. There are many examples of these critiques. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir bin Mohamad eventually declared his full support for the program, but during his campaign, he attacked expensive Belt and Road initiatives, BRI, and canceled $22 billion worth of projects. The overall debt to China has increased dramatically since 2013, approaching 20% of GDP in certain countries, according to CFR's Belt and Road Tracker. A growing number of low-income BRI countries have found it difficult to repay debts related to the program since the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian invasion of Ukraine shook global markets, resulting in a wave of debt difficulties and fresh criticism for BRI. Golden Finance 117. China never intended to hold this record. Golden Finance 117 in Tianjin was supposed to be the fifth tallest skyscraper ever built when construction started 13 years ago. Today, it's perhaps best known as the structure that those daredevils on YouTube scaled. Even though it reached its maximum height of 597 meters in 2015, the project is still unfinished because the site was abruptly abandoned not long after. Many have begun to question how one of the strongest economies in the world, with the highest pace of urbanization in history, came to be home to the world's tallest ghost scraper because contact dried up in 2018 and there has been no official word on when or even if the project would ever be completed. When Golden Finance 117 was first proposed in 2008, when Chinese cities were fighting for attention worldwide, it was meant to be the focal point of billionaire Pat Sutton's Golden Metropolitan Project. It would have been a 1.8 square kilometer upscale residential and business district aiming for the ultra-rich. The project featured numerous residential and commercial buildings, manors designed in French and Italian styles, a wine museum, vast gardens, and even a polo club. The iconic skyscraper was considered the centerpiece of the complex. The structure was supposed to have a 3-story, diamond-shaped atrium atop it that would have held the highest observation deck, swimming pool, restaurant, and sky bar in the entire globe. Described as a walking stick, the mixed-use skyscraper would have 128 stories above ground, 117 of which would be devoted to hotel and commercial space, which also serves as the building's clever moniker, 11 levels below ground for mechanical and operational services, and 4 levels below ground for parking. Unlike many of the tallest buildings in the world, Golden Finance 117 was designed to be livable all the way to the top, eschewing the vanity height that many of the modern tallest skyscrapers seem to have adopted. In actuality, the building would have come in second, only behind the Burj Khalifa, with just half a meter in it when compared to other projects that were only on the highest habitable floor. With its height-to-width ratio of 9.5 to 1, which is higher than permitted by China's seismic code, Golden Finance 117 should have been more vulnerable to lateral forces and should have been abandoned for a reasonable reason, but it was built to withstand these forces despite the lack of any significant setbacks that would have disrupted wind loads. Golden Finance 117 was designed with a perimeter frame made up of tapering mega columns, mega braces, and transfer trusses. These elements were supported by and tied back to a full-height reinforced concrete core, which created a nearly immovable structure, much like the structural system used at Malaysia's Merdeka PNB 118. That's all for today. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. Also, express your valuable thoughts in the comments section below. Until then, bye. Also, spend some time watching other videos on the channel.